August 7th to order. Present, Paul Schubert.
Present, Paul Nivini.
Present, Mary McGoldrick.
Present, Gina Stina.
And
Dr. Lee coming?
She said she would probably be a little bit late.
Okay.
Because I believe she had to do a pickup at the airport today for her daughter.
Okay.
Reminder, all school committee meetings are televised and recorded. If you'd like to recite the Pledge of Allegiance, feel free to join us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands,
under God,
one nation, under God,
liberty,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And next is the bunch of minutes. First one of the minutes of May 1st,
Can I
2013.
ask that we possibly push this off to the next meeting? I found some things that I wanted to just check out, and I didn't have time to fully do that.
Also,
Yeah, I think it makes sense to just, I just kind of stopped. I think that the public hearing was separate from the meeting, and they're all kind of combined in the same, so that was the first group of minutes. So I'd like to request that we wait until the next meeting to approve it.
any objection? We'll delay it till next.
Thank you.
Next up is the superintendent's report. We had a meeting earlier today about the enrollment numbers. Just kind of an overview. The enrollment numbers are always a little bit in flux in the beginning of the school year. We do a couple of ways to figure out the enrollment. For the state, I think it's the first week in October, first full week, October 1st, depending on where it lands, for the hardcore numbers of what is the true enrollment numbers.
Right, they use the October numbers to determine basically our grants, our counts for everything. Chapter 70, everything is based on that number.
So make sure your children show up on.
Well, yeah, we try, or at least enroll, they can be
At least
absent,
enroll.
but we try to make it as accurate as possible, obviously, because it's to our advantage.
So kind of turn view for the enrollment numbers, because I think every year the kindergarten and particularly the 9th grade was always a problem estimating numbers that are going to be there, because oftentimes the kindergartners will show up, they'll move into town, and depending on when they enroll is when you get the numbers. Likewise in 9th grade, you'll know that the 8th graders are here. Some of them go to private school, some of them will go to Catholic schools or other schools, and you'll lose some, and the numbers are always, it's a, I won't say it's a crapshoot, but it's difficult to truly know that.
Do you want me to go on?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so today, I know you all had received a letter, and it's not the only contact we've had, but we've been monitoring as we get through the last 2 summers, the number of folks who are registering their children as they come into school. Last year, the last week of August, we had a rush of folks registering their children. And that being the case, it's very hard to predict when you're finalizing the budget in the spring what we're going to look like in September. So we've been watching for the last couple of weeks. Mr. LeCount and I have been talking a couple of days a week just to keep track of where the registrations are going. And last week we put this on the agenda. And as you know, you received a letter yesterday, and we talked about that very thing. We had Mr. LeCount at the meeting along with Dr. Schubert, and we also asked Dr. DeKier to come because our 5th grade numbers are fairly high as well. And so we were trying to figure out what is it we can do to ensure the highest quality education possible, and looking at our numbers to make sure that we are helping our children be accountable in every way they need to be. So in doing so today, one of the concerns we had is that we have 8 students that are sitting on a wait list for full-day kindergarten. And we have a half-day kindergarten right now that contains 25 children, which technically 8 of those children are the full-day wait list folks, just to make that clear. At the same time, we presently have 105 children slated to go into the full-day kindergarten classrooms.
How many is that? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
105. So that gives you 105 for 5 rooms. That's 21 students in each room currently. So we started to talk about it today. What could we do? Because we know what's involved. It's not just hiring a teacher for a classroom, but you also have to think about the specialist to make sure you have enough coverage for PE and for music and for art and for anything else. And in doing so, we felt that one of the best ways we could help the stability of our students is to keep it at the 5 classrooms. Take the students off the wait list and disperse them among the 5 classrooms, but what we are planning to do is to make sure that there is an ESP that can support those classes, those 5 classes individually to help them out, so that there'll be 2 adults in the room. And we feel that that is the best way to go for the time being, and that would mean that of the 5 classrooms that we would have full-day kindergarten, 3 of them would contain 23 students, 2 of them would contain 22 students, and the half-day kindergarten class will drop to 17. Because the 8 full-day folks will come out, unless a parent who has been on the wait list decides, no, I actually want my child to stay in half-day and has made other arrangements, then that would change that number slightly. But that's to let you know, at the same time, we currently have 154 students in the 5th grade classrooms. We have 6 5th grade classrooms. 3 of those classrooms contain 25 children. 3 of those classrooms contain 26 children. And what we're going to do is do some movement from within the budget, and we're going to add an additional ESP to support the teachers, to make sure that the students are having their needs met. And so we feel at this time that's probably the best way to go, so that we're hiring 2 ESPs in the end. 1 for the kindergarten and 1 for the 5th grade. And at the same time, we'll continue to track our numbers. Now we start to track them daily, not just, every few days, but we'll be into the daily mode, because a lot of folks who purchased homes in the spring are now bringing in their agreements at this point, demonstrating residency. So.
Yep.
Is this really unexpected? I mean, I know we were budgeting a little, we were planning for something, but was this to do this really zap you?
The kindergarten is higher than we expected.
What did you expect?
We expected it to fall out no more than 21.
And so you have 2 classrooms of 23.
3 classrooms of 23.
3 classrooms
Yep.
of 23.
And 2
Yeah,
classrooms
I read
of 22.
And 3 classrooms of 3
22.
classrooms of 23 for the kindergarten, and how many of 20?
2 more for 22.
Yeah, 2 more for 22.
So that
And
will,
how many people are on the waiting list?
there were
for-
8.
And how, do we know that ahead of time, that there was that many people on the waiting list for the full-time? And how do you make the determination of who gets on the wait list for the full-time kindergarten?
When the classes fill at 21, that's when we,
Right, and so
Anybody
that was
after
the
that.
deposit, the people putting in their deposits?
people have their deposits there to hold, but when the classes are filled, they're filled and they're on a wait list.
And what was the mix-up with the $1,000 versus the $500 deposit thing? Was there a mix-up with that?
It wasn't that there was a mix-up, we made a decision to make the change in the payment system, then we were given direction that you can only increase by, what was it, 20%?
Yeah, because we have a full-day kindergarten grant, we have to adhere to certain guidelines, and part of that was to change the deposit from 1,000 to 300.
Because you can only increase by a 20% increment in a given year on a deposit.
So
Which
it used
we
to
were not
be
aware of.
it used to be 300.
No,
No.
we originally, we were gonna do 1,000 this year, and then
Yes.
we had to bring it down to 300.
It's what was it always?
What was it, 200?
It was usually about, I think, 250 to 300,
250.
yeah.
It used to be 300? What was it?
250.
Yeah.
It was 250.
Yeah.
And you could only increase it by 30%,
I think it was 20%.
20%.
Yeah,
or 20%.
Yeah.
So that would be
That's all right.
40 something,
yeah.
$50.
Yeah.
So
So,
you made it to 300.
yeah, so we
Right.
made the adjustment.
30% of 250 would be 300.
Mhm.
20%.
Oh,
Yeah.
20% rather.
Yeah.
Yeah.
20%. You could only increase it by 20%.
I think that's what the
Yeah,
guidelines.
That was what the
20%.
guidelines were.
Taught us,
Right.
yeah,
So that would make it, to the 300 amount.
right.
But you were surprised by that, you just didn't know it, because that was the
We
problem?
we were surprised by that.
So people who turned in $1,000, what happened? They got
Checks were returned.
Well, yeah, we either refunded their $700 or they put the $700 towards their next payment.
Okay,
They were
I was
given
just a little
options.
confused in the letter that I received from the parent, because it said $500
No,
in the letter. 500.
Yeah, it did say $500.
No, that's $300.
She put a deposit in, the family put a deposit in for $500. That's why I was confused by the number.
Check,
No,
that's all what we were told.
Yeah, no,
What's that, Bob?
yeah, I don't
We'll
think
check
so.
that out.
I think it's the letter says 500.
Alright,
Yeah,
we'll
it
check
says
with Mr.
500.
LeCount. Alright,
Because if
You know-
it's $500 and it used to be $250, then we're going more than 20%. And that would be considered not okay.
right.
Right, no, I think it's 300, I don't know,
It
Well-
used to be 300, or the
no,
deposit
it is now
300?
300, I don't know where
Okay,
the 500
well, we just
came
need some
from.
We'll
clarification.
also check with Mr. LeCount, who was actually gonna come here, and then we said he didn't have to, so we'll check with him tomorrow.
Yeah, it did say 500
It
in the
did,
letter.
Okay.
One of the reasons why the numbers went up was Sandcastle used to have a kindergarten, no longer has it this year. So that was X number, I don't know how many, but probably, I would think a classroom.
Mhm.
And that's local, that's, Hingham, Situate, Cohasset, but a lot of the Cohasset people do that.
Yes and no. I mean, a lot of people are gonna go to Sandcastle. I mean, the people who would be needing, another alternative to Sandcastle would not necessarily want Cohasset because it doesn't offer continuous childcare.
But some of them would.
Some, you may get a few, but I don't know, you know, usually I have some clients who are in that position, and what they're looking for would be a 7:30 to 6 p.m.
Right.
And that's not something what we offer
No.
here in the school, so, and that's what Sandcastle, and there are other places that are
Well,
probably
the
got,
rec- the-
most of their Sandcastle business.
But there's also, they have the
Right.
extended with a rec camp.
Yes, they do,
So you could potentially do it here.
potentially, but for the young ones, they usually like keeping them in one place.
Yep.
Sorry.
Just wondering, what the ESP plan before the change, does kindergarten normally get an ESP in a 21 student classroom?
They had 4 ESPs among the 5 classrooms.
And they just rotate among the 5?
Yep.
I see, and now the 5th one will be a permanent fixture, so.
Yep. And then if the numbers continue to grow, we'll have to report back to you because we'll have to do something. I've seen it when, you know, the numbers have grown right before Labor Day weekend and you wind up breaking the classes and adding in after Labor Day, but I prefer not to have to go that route if we can avoid it.
Keeps
It
growing.
can be very disruptive.
And how is the wait list again? I just was wondering, I didn't quite get it. Everybody puts their deposit in and then randomly people are selected, or is it?
No, we don't have a lottery here. It
Okay.
might be something that we'll have to go to, but there's a deadline set and paperwork that comes in after the deadline goes to a wait list.
Okay, and what if there's more people than 105?
That has not happened since I've been here, but that is a very valid question
Okay.
to look at. And I think that's probably why places do
To
lotteries.
a lottery, right, because the
Yeah.
106th is now, as they
Yeah.
just got luck of the draw coming in, okay.
Correct.
Hingham has a lottery.
A lot of places do.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, thanks.
So, question, you mean a lottery for anything over the,
Half day.
The 105,
got it, because then that would go
If you
over, if you had the half day and the full day together?
Right, if we had a number of if people before the deadline, if we exceeded the number before the deadline, the proposal would have to be to do a lottery to make it fair for everybody. You can't just say the people
Right.
who are in the Z's can't get in, or the
Correct.
M's, you know. So we would have to propose something to make it even and just for everybody if they all submitted on time. But the
Got it.
situation has been that we didn't reach that number before the deadline.
Got it, understand. I have a question about last year. What was the number, I could have looked it up, I didn't have a chance because I was at the airport. The number for last year for the kindergarten class size. I have the data at home.
I have it
but
on my
should've-
wall, I have to go back and grab it.
I tried to do as much
Have it?
research as I could last night on this issue,
Did you have-
That was us.
but I forgot.
As of the October 1st count last year, thank goodness Dave brought the numbers, we had 100 last year.
100.
And what were the class sizes last year?
That would be 20.
We had, all 5 and 20,
Yep.
including the, half day?
No, the half day had 19.
Okay, so the 5 of the full day were at 20, and then the half day was at 19.
Mm-hmm.
And how much, we have how many in our half day this year? Did you say?
Well, with the 8 from the wait list, we have 25, but if they shift into the full day, it would be 17.
Got it.
parents the choice. Obviously, we're not gonna say now, I'm sure they're waiting for full day, but we're not gonna say they have to go
So
full
the
day.
full day numbers are 3 at 23 and 2 at 22
Yeah.
is putting the people from the 8 from the wetland, wait, that.
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay, so, yeah, that's a jump from 20 from last year to 23.
Mhm.
That's a pretty big jump at that young age.
Yes, which is why we have to really be considerate of the new housing coming into town to make sure that we can keep track of that as
Yeah.
well.
And I did, last night I did some research just on kindergarten, education and the numbers and stuff like that. And 23 is really pushing it
Mm-hmm.
from all the literature I read last night for a few hours before I hit the set.
We're not disagreeing.
Yeah.
So of course, it's an operational decision, but in your judgment, then it's better to accommodate the 8 people who would otherwise have to go to half-day and increase the size across the board on all the classrooms.
Yes, well, what we did is we sat today and had a lengthy discussion about can we support them appropriately. If we leave them in half-day, obviously there are families who it would really be a difficult situation for them. At the same time, if we tried to open up a new classroom this late in the summer, the issue is that we might not be able to offer the same services to that additional classroom that the others already have, because we don't have enough folks to go around for their schedules. The schedule's so large and everybody has a caseload and it's predictable in terms of, PE, Mr. Dykes is going to have this many classes, so we can't add additional classes because there's no room in the schedule. We'd have to hire additional people, and the fractional amounts of hiring are so small, it's such a small increment. Finding people to do that will be very difficult, so then you're going to have a classroom of students who don't get certain things.
So that I'm confused on, because don't they still have to go to gym, whether
You
there's
have to
5
have a
or
gym
6
teacher
teachers?
there.
But whether there's 5 or 6 teachers, they're all still going to gym, right?
For the 5 teachers we have, yes, and for the half-day, but if you have a full day, it changes the numbers. It will change.
Okay.
The way it's scheduled, if we open up a 6th class, then we're technically gonna have 7 kindergarten teachers, 6 full and 1 half, not 5 full and 1 half. So you're adding.
I see, but the same number of students are going to go through Dyke as a gym class. It's not like you need a new gym teacher just because you added a new
Oh, yeah, because
kindergarten
it's a new
teacher.
period.
Because the scheduling issues. Okay, not because of the
Yeah.
flow through.
No.
Okay, got it. Okay, that makes sense. Thanks.
With the 8, with them out
I mean, it may be in the next
off the way.
year or so, we may need to end up expanding just the number of teachers that are there for both, someone that floats through 5th, 6th, 7th grade
Yes.
along that, and as well as the kindergarten.
And I think that'll be something we have to look at even this fall, and one of the things that as a committee we might wanna look at is just the space issue alone, whether you'll need a space study done to maintain the number of students, because, it's no secret that the middle school is quite tight this year. There's not a lot of breathing space in the building.
Question. How are you utilizing that 1A in ESP? You were talking about it for the kindergarten. Is rotation or one class or?
Well, we have 4 currently rotating pretty much through the 5. We wanna put a 5th in to help.
So everyone will have one,
You want-
right? And for the 5th grade, that's a rotation though? Or is that the same thing for the 5th?
That would be for a rotation.
That one for rotation. How many ESPs do you have in the 5th grade to support that 25, 26 class size?
I think she has 2 right now that circulate through for various things. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Is, to the ESP point, so that's 5 ESPs, in the morning you have 6 classrooms, right? So it will be 5 ESPs for the 6 classrooms.
Technically, yes, but we're looking at that other half-day as to how we're gonna service that as well, separately.
Okay, and you said for the, 6 classrooms for 5th grade, there's 2 ESPs and it will go to 3.
That's what we're looking to do.
And they feel that's sufficient?
Dr. DeKiera came today and made a very healthy argument for why she thinks that will really help.
And how many ESPs are in, the other grades?
I don't have my list, it
I don't
varies.
remember.
It varies depending on the students in
Depending on
there.
the needs and so forth, because they do move around each year.
Because I know last year we had quite a number of phone calls from 1st grade parents feeling there weren't enough ESPs.
We'll check with Mr. LeCount how many he
I'm
has
not
at first
sure.
grade. Because we also leave it to the principals to do some of the movement and scheduling, and he said right now he's working on his scheduling, he hasn't completed it.
Dr. Schumann.
Yeah.
I can save, I'm Sarah Shannon, and so I can save you a phone call to Mr. LeCount if you'd like and explain the $500. I originally brought a check for the deposit that I actually paid for my son 2 years ago, not realizing that it had changed. So my original check that was voided was for $270, which is what it was 2 years ago. And then I did send a $500 check because I decided that for our household budgetary purposes, if I paid $500 a month, that would be easier for us. So the $500 is an arbitrary amount by me.
Okay.
Good, thank
So
you.
that could help clarify. And I would just like to say thank you to everybody for paying attention to our concerns and for considering taking the students off the wait list and putting them into full day kindergarten. And for being aware of the fact that numbers are still high, but knowing that, so thank you.
You know, some of the towns in the area, they have a full day kindergarten that is incorporated into it, and we've got a half day and full day, and some towns even just cover the cost of a full day kindergarten. I have yet to figure out why there's such disparity among the towns in the area here. It's clear that a full day kindergarten works well for early education, early social development, early interpersonal skills, and they do better with it. And you know, I was just looking at the different towns. Some of them they offered, some of them don't. Some of it's free, some of it's not. Some of it's under lottery, depending on how many the students are each year. I've always pushed for it. I think it's a better way to run it, but it's a cost problem for the town. And thanks for coming. And next up is the technology update.
So what I'm hoping, I just wanted to let you know that Robinell has been working feverishly in the district all summer. Despite the high heat, he's had a number of students here in the school coming in as a help desk, helping. He's had Colin Bell, who you've seen here, obviously. He has some students, I think, from South Shore Tech and a few from within the building, and they've been going around installing all the computers all summer long in all these classrooms, in the labs, putting in all of the sound systems and so forth. So here, Osgood, Deer Hill, so what we're hoping is certainly in the fall when everybody has a chance, maybe you'll take some time out and come see the technology. It's not all complete. If you walked around the hallways right now, you would see things all over the hallways that are going to have to be dispensed with because those are the ones that are 15 years old. He's also shifting things all over the district so that we're getting the most out of the older equipment as well. It's not being disposed of, it's being utilized somewhere else, town side, school side. So the labs are the foreign language labs are in excellent shape, I have to say. Really excellent shape.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, there was an inventory done of all the equipment, which is probably more than a few years ago now. Is he keeping a running list of what's being gently recycled?
Yes.
And what's staying in the
Absolutely.
building
Yes.
and all that kind of
And
stuff?
what is completely useless, and when the equipment that is really useless, he will have it sent out through recycling, that it can't just be thrown in the trash.
Right.
And we'll have a list of that as well.
Okay. Just
Surplus. Absolutely, his spreadsheets of everything, and if you give him a number, he can tell you what room and what school it all resides in.
That's awesome to have
So,
right on hand.
yeah, and they're beginning to put together, the last thing I think they'll be putting together probably will be the Apple lab for the videography class, because right now it's holding all the equipment for the rest of the district.
I have a question. A couple of months ago, at least a couple of months ago, I had asked for a line item budget for technology so that we know what the plan is, and I still haven't received anything, and I'm just curious if that's available.
What we have is what Rob has purchased, obviously, and I'm sure that's what you're probably most interested in, is what he's been purchasing.
I'd like to know the plan for dissemination, you know, exactly who's getting what. I think that that's important for us to
Okay.
understand.
You wanna know exactly what's in every single room, every mouse, every keyboard, every
No.
monitor, or you
No.
wanna
I'd
the
just
deer
like
hills
to know,
getting set ups.
I'd like to see what the cost centers are
Mhm.
for the various pieces of equipment and where they're earmarked for.
Okay,
Not every single mouse and
okay,
ink cartridge, no, that's not what I want.
okay.
But I think it would be helpful for all of us to understand exactly what's going on technology-wise.
All right, we'll ask maybe we can have Mr. Bonnell come and even present.
And the other thing with the technology is that, when we revamped the high schools, it didn't include any internet technology. It was kind of a few years before internet technology became clear. Hanover High School, brand new, everything is wireless, and so we used to have problems here with getting connectivity with the internet here. We had to rewire the schools, which was one of the first steps. So I think, despite being behind the eight ball, I think we've come a long way, which is quite good.
In 13 months since he's arrived, I mean, he's done a tremendous amount of work. If you walk around even now, you can see all the rooms that have changed and the labs that have rolled over, and we'll basically be ready for the park assessment, which is what we need to be ready for, unless they decide not to do it. But
And is that at the end of September?
no, spring.
In the spring,
In the
okay.
spring, and there's still a lot of chatter as to whether it will happen at this point. Some states are dropping it, and I know that we are a state that right now is still planning to give it, but you never know. And if they choose not to, we'll let you know. So that is, we just wanna let you know, as the technology is coming in. I know it has to be right, because the kids who are installing it are so excited. It's indicative that we must be doing the right thing, because they can't wait to use it. They really can't, and they keep saying it's terrific what we have and what's been ordered, and the kids are so lucky. So, it's great. Yes. The next thing on your list is a security grant. So last Friday, no, we had this out, I think it was during the week, last week, I received a call from Garrett Bradley. He had been trying to secure some grant money for security here. And he called to let me know that it was passed in the state for $50,000 that we will be getting for security. And I've already been contacted by the state to sit down and talk to them about the money. So we'll be setting up an appointment shortly to begin that process. And what we were hoping to do, I told you in the spring that the SWAT team from Mike Morrissey's office, they were coming in the impact group to do an assessment of the school. Well, they finally came this week. So they were due in May, but they got here this week and then said to me that the report for what they find will be out, I believe, in about 4 weeks. And what I'm hoping to do is take the money that we received from the grant, tie it, and what that particular assessment was that they did this week is, in the event we have to vacate the building for any reason, they're trying to find ways that are best routes to leave the school, what are things we should do in the event we have to vacate, whether it's shutting down servers or turning off lights or setting up PA systems, things like that. If students leave the school, where will they go outside the school? So I want to hear what they have to say with that, along with what we need to spend, because we don't want to overlap monies. That's really our key here. So we'll be giving you updates on that, but that will be a few weeks down the road before we hear anything back from them.
And that's gonna come directly from the state to the
believe
district, correct?
It will come, I assume, to the town, but yes, designated for the
Okay.
school.
Because I got the legislative bulletin from the Mass Association of School Committees.
Yes.
They kind of overviewed the different items that were education kind of based. The chapter 70 monies were up about $20 per student. I didn't see that in there, so I think that was an addendum
It was.
to the budget that was passed just a few weeks ago.
And at the same time, what he and Mr. Bradley talked about was the fact that in the fall, we could talk with them about securing the school building authority monies if we want to do any revamping of the schools, that we could begin to look at it in the fall.
And can you give us an update also on the lobby guards and when they'll be in place and being used?
Yes, actually, I have to pull I can forward you the information that Mr. Bonnell forwarded to Mr. Pescatore this week, exactly where it was. And Mr. Pescatore, I didn't get to read it all in detail, but I know Mr. Pescatore wrote back and said, great news, so that must be something positive.
That would be good if you could forward that,
Yeah.
I'd appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay, and next up, hiring.
Right there. There we go, I don't want to forget to do that. So we just want to let you know, obviously in the fall, the first meeting in September, we will usually hand you a packet of information about who we have hired for replacements and so forth. But we want to let the committee know that the hiring's going very well, and our two most difficult positions, the physics, chemistry positions, have been filled. So, some very talented people, and we're very excited about that, because we were concerned that those would not get filled, especially with a late summer resignation, but we were able to secure something.
Are either those for the AP physics or chemistry? Okay, so they're both.
They both can do it.
So, and that person will be new, the AP physics person?
Both will be new.
Who was teaching AP chemistry before? I thought Dr. T was.
Yes, but it's the physics part
Okay,
we needed.
so Dr. T is still teaching AP chemistry, so that's the same. And the AP physics is the
We'll
new
figure
one.
out which one of the new teachers will do it.
Got it,
But we have two teachers who can do it,
that's what I thought.
which is highly unusual to have two dual certified teachers able to do that. So we
In
were pleased.
chemistry and physics, right?
Yes.
Well,
We were very
I think
pleased.
3 years ago, we had a problem with AP Physics, because there was no one that was certified for it, just before Mr. King came.
Right. So we're
No,
sorry about that
too
loss,
late.
but, we just wanna let you know that it looks like we're pretty much on track with hiring. There's a few positions left to go. But we're moving along, and just wanted to assure you, in case you should have any questions or parents call and say what's happening with hiring, it's going right along.
And next up are the resignation letters.
Can I ask a
Always
question
hate
about the hirings? I know there were, two team chair, positions that you were looking to fill, as well as a high school sped teacher, and I'm wondering what's going on with those.
The two team chair positions are filled, and the high school position, I think, is about to be filled.
Okay.
And next up are the resignation letters.
Yes.
Always,
So you have a packet with 3 letters, and then I gave you additionally one other letter on your table that didn't get into your packet. We wanted you to have that as well. So, it was sad to see some, these folks leave, but it's sad to see some who are going who haven't quite left yet. Hard to replace many of them, but in any case, we wanted you to have that paperwork.
So unfortunately, we need a motion to approve the resignations.
I thought we had stopped doing that.
Yeah, you don't.
We don't need to do that. I do wanna just note that I've had, personal family experience with Lynn Kenny, and she will greatly miss.
Absolutely.
I mean, as all of these people will be, but as I said, I've had personal experience with her, so.
Right, no, it's a loss,
I'm
it's a definite
disappointed.
loss, and a mid-year replacement's hard, so we're hoping she will help us with that.
And my 2 sons are very upset with also Mr. King and Beth Wall.
Right.
So,
I don't know Beth, but I know Joe, and
yeah.
he'll be a huge loss.
Mm-hmm. But we do wish them well.
And next up, finance.
Your packet includes the, monthly update as of June 30th. As you know, that's the last of the fiscal year. We did expend the entire budget, as you know we would.
Of course we did.
In the last page, I just wanted to make note that the revolving accounts, the balances in those revolving accounts will be the beginning balances in the new year in FY14. We may have a little bit of adjustments, when we start reconciling with the town finance director, but I don't really foresee a lot of that happening. All the grants have been expended down to where they're supposed to be, and we're just starting to write for new grants now as we speak, so we've been busy doing that this summer. I know Louise is doing something with a new grant that we haven't had before. It was a competitive grant,
Yeah.
something to do with evaluations. I think.
Yep, oh,
But,
excellent. We like competitive
I don't know,
grants.
with that, yeah. So if anybody doesn't have any questions, we can just move on to the next.
Question, what did you say about competitive grants?
Well, I was told Louise Demas, our curriculum coordinator, she's in the process of writing for one of the grants that has to do with, evaluation instruments with
Okay, good.
teachers, yeah. So, hopefully if we get that would be
Maybe,
helpful.
perhaps if we're ahead of the
Professional.
curve on implementing the evaluation instruments will qualify for the competitive grant.
Yeah, yeah,
That would, it all kind of goes hand in hand, so that would be a good thing.
yeah. The next item under finance is, what we did for final purchases at the end of the year. As you can see, we did purchase some good items that we were in need of. The new math curriculum, we were able to purchase that, Envision Math for Deer Hill and Osgood. We were able to repair some of that middle school roof that we had problems with, and hopefully that's gonna help us with the solar arrays if that ever comes to fruition.
Move forward.
We were able to purchase the additional piece of the Apple MacBook Lab, the other portion that, CEF had awarded a big grant on that. We were able to finish that up, which is good. And then there was other technology items, laptops for the teachers, as part of our our 21st century classrooms and part of our one-to-one initiative. And projectors for the middle school and high school classrooms and so forth. So we were able to do some good purchases at the end of the year. And we were also able to pre-purchase special ed tuition.
Question,
Yeah.
you were able to pre-purchase $277,654
Yeah.
special,
Yes.
but if you add, okay, so you added up all those final purchases at the end of the year,
Yeah.
that came to $366,559?
The prepayment of
Yeah.
special ed tuition was out of the tuition account. We didn't have
Got
to
it.
transfer any funds
Right,
into that or
yeah,
out of
cause
that.
that doesn't make sense, the way you did the numbers, right,
Yeah.
no, I see, yeah,
Yeah,
so
that's
that
why-
came out of
that's
a
why we
different
did.
account,
Yes,
Yeah.
it did, yeah.
right.
So can we vote to approve the
Yeah.
end
Ask
of
for
the
the
year?
motion to approve the account balances and the final purchases and prepayment
Sure,
as stated.
I'll make a motion to approve the final purchases and prepayment.
I'll
for
second it.
As of
Sorry.
6/30/2015.
I'll second.
And roll call, all in favor?
I, Mary LaBeouf.
I, Paul Devine.
Paul Schubert?
Gina Stino.
I, Henry.
Right, thank you.
Another year without an override.
That's right.
It's all good.
That's the way we like it.
That is the way we like it. We want to continue on that.
Next item on the finance is, we had some surplus textbooks and readers in the middle high school that have been around a long time, and we were just asking for approval to declare surplus so that we can dispose of them properly. And there's a whole list of them behind the memo that we wrote.
I particularly liked the history books from 1997.
There was some Spanish books from 1980.
Right.
It's
I guess
time.
words are words, but I'm sure they were tired.
Yes.
It's another whole volume for the history already.
And the cassette tapes.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't that long ago that we were ditching those.
I have drawers full of them at home.
Ask for a motion to declare surplus textbooks and readers as stated.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
None?
I have a question.
Hmm?
Where do they go?
Well, first we'll contact the town library to see
Yes.
if they'll use any of them. And if they don't take anything, usually last time we donated to them, to Got Books. You know, have you heard of Got Books?
The name sounds familiar.
They supply textbooks throughout the whole world, you know,
Yeah,
to
exactly.
people in need and so forth. So that's usually what we've done
I
in the
think
past.
that there's a bin for God books on 3A at one of the churches in
Right.
Situate.
They'll actually come and pick them up.
Yeah,
for us.
I'm sure they will, but they have bins
They-
out
yeah,
and
throughout,
about
they
too.
send them throughout the
Yeah.
Commonwealth.
It was just interesting, because I'm doing mission work in Cuba, so they need books, but, I think it's great that you're doing it through that organization, it's fine.
Thank you.
We don't want to pay to ship them to Cuba.
No, I have to take, I have to
There's a
take
constitution in
photos
that
with
list.
myself. I would take them, I could take them, I have lot of people
But only
coming.
10 pounds worth.
No, no, we had 20 people each, so we had a lot of people come, so we had 200 pounds worth. But don't worry about it.
Well, we could
It's-
have you take,
No,
what
no,
you
it's
need.
okay. I just, as long as you have a place and they're not going to waste,
no,
it's fine.
And next up is warrant 2S. Motion to approve warrant 2S.
I'll make a motion to approve warrant O2S.
And a second?
Second?
All in favor, roll call.
Eileen Lee?
Hi, Gina Stino.
Aye, Paul Schubert.
Aye, Paul Nivini.
I'm Mary Coulter.
I'm not sure there's been any subcommittee or other committees that have been active in the last couple of months.
No, no.
I haven't had much of anything.
Let's go back around.
I would like to add, though, that, Mary, you and I should figure out our calendars and maybe plan for our first subcommittee meeting for the policy and standards.
Yes.
At some point in the, right after Labor Day, maybe we
Okay.
can do that.
And the capital budget committee, I'm sure that's gonna be.
And question,
Fire and us.
when is the school PSO
I'm sure
calendar
that's gonna
coming
be
up?
fun.
When is the first, high school, student
We
school council meeting?
we can find that out for you. It is just getting ready to be published, the calendar.
Okay.
Has not
But
been
if you
published
could
yet.
give me a head up,
Yep.
when some of, all of us, when the, school council meetings are, so we can put
Right.
that in our schedules.
Is there usually one in
Because
September?
I have the high school,
Mhm.
who is the Deer Hill and Osgood?
I have the Osgood.
Okay.
Paul has the
Deer
Yeah,
Deer
Deer
Hill.
Hills.
So we get,
Alright.
no, they're not in the summer, but they're, I
No,
thought there
no,
was
I
one in
just-
September.
I don't think, they usually have one in September? I don't.
I didn't think they started till October, but we can check.
School council.
Okay,
so.
great,
Sure, sure,
so
sure.
then it'll be plenty of time.
Okay, but we'll check and let you know.
Gotta get the bylaw first, the PSO calendar. Has everything listed.
And
And I think there is a reason to go into executive session. I'd ask for a motion for executive session to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, doing so in open session would have a detrimental effect on the bargaining process.
Is it collective bargaining or strategy related to?
Can be both. Strategy to.
So it could be both, okay.
Motion? Second?
Second.
All in favor? I think
Aye.
we're gonna
Aye.
go into executive session, not come out unless there's anything else, because I don't think there's gonna be a vote on this, no discussion. So, we will adjourn here and then go into executive session. Adjourn in executive session. So all in favor?
Aye, you're
Aye.
able?
Right. Paul Schubert?
I don't, yeah, we have Sarah.
Hi, Gina Stino.
Thanks.
All right, thank you.